We're going to attempt to flip this 53-pound kettlebell 100 times in 10 minutes. Should probably put the Crocs in sport mode, yeah? This was precisely 8 minutes and 19 seconds before I realized I had made a terrible mistake. Let me explain. Hi, my name's Blake, and people like to tell me that I make being a grown-up feel less scary. While I'm still totally terrified, I thought I'd be helpful to compile a list of skills, attributes, and lessons that I found useful on my own journey. Remember, getting old is inevitable, but growing up fucking rips, if you know how to do it. Episode 1, Working Out. In order for you to understand why this kettlebell challenge is so important to me, I think I need to tell you about my dad's first apartment after my parents' divorce. My parents had me when they were pretty young, and their marriage didn't make it past diapers. As such, my dad's first apartment after the divorce was an odd monument to manliness and self-discovery. He was in his mid-20s, recently sober, and living in a giant city thousands of miles away from home. He had a small child, and he was really trying not to expose that kid to the same trauma that he grew up with. Bro was, as they say, going through it. There were speakers that were taller than I was, serenity prayers next to every light switch, and my favorite thing of all, right in the middle of the living room, a weight bench. On weekends with my dad, I would hang out and watch cartoons while he benched and curled and then got these awful, chalky protein smoothies. It was like a ritual, but instead of making a sacrifice to some weird, scary plastic statue of an ancient god, he was performing a small, sweaty prayer to himself. And I always thought that was cool as hell. I started lifting pretty much as soon as I could hold weights, and as such, it has been a place that I could always go to reset, to find myself in the chaos of everything. Which brings us to why the hell I decided to take on this ridiculous kettlebell challenge in the first place. See, I've been having a hard time figuring out what it means to be me these days. I turned 42 last year, which is a weird age to be. You're not really old, but you're definitely not young anymore. And typically, when I go through something like this, a physical challenge really tells me where I am in the scheme of things. It reminds me of who I've been throughout the whole journey, etc., etc. The point of the video. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu, but I don't really feel like competing anymore. I raced bikes competitively for like 15 years, and that just seems scary as hell. So then it occurred to me, kettlebells. Yeah, kettlebells. More specifically, 153-pound kettlebell flips in 10 minutes. The kettlebell flip takes advantage of the brief moment of weightlessness at the top of a kettlebell swing, allowing you to let go, flip the bell around, and catch it again. 1 is impressive, 10 is a party trick, but 100 in a row without dropping it, that requires some planning. Thought you'd be more impressed. Now, the best way I have learned to tackle any physical challenge is to string together a series of small wins so that it feels like you are building momentum. In this case, we're going to do 10 flips every minute, on the minute for 10 minutes. Feels doable, right? That's precisely the point. Here we go. First set felt really great, honestly, as did the second. But by the time I finished the third, I could feel the challenge really starting to set in. Somewhere between sets 4 and 5, it happened. When my lungs started burning and my grips started to fatigue, I was questioning whether or not I was going to be able to finish this at all. And then it hit me. This is what I was looking for. This is the sensation in my body that feels like home. It reminded me of a time that I needed this before. See, something people ask me all the time is when was the first time I really felt like a dad? And what's amazing is I can pinpoint the exact moment. It wasn't cutting the cord or awkwardly swaddling my newborn as the sun rose over Oakland. It wasn't watching the scissors snip off the little bracelets that keep you from leaving the hospital with your baby until the doctor sees fit, or the nurse behind us making sure we knew how our car seat worked. No, it was the moment when we got home, when my son fell asleep in his little basket and my wife finally got some rest, and I picked up a kettlebell and I started to work out next to him. Being a dad wasn't some abstract dance in a sterile room where I waited to do something wrong. It was watching over this perfect little thing while doing the thing that I loved, so the one that I loved could heal. It was heavy and natural, and above all else, it was real. That's why working out is important. Of course, there is the obvious benefit of developing physical fitness, of getting hot if that's important to you. There is the feeling of accomplishment, of getting better, faster, stronger, at seeing your work create results. But what I would argue is the most valuable lesson of all is feeling at home in your own skin. of being the owner, operator, and groundskeeper of the meat suit that your consciousness is trapped inside of. And then, at 8.5 minutes in, it hit me. The mistake I made was this was actually
6,
too easy.
7, 8, 9, 10. Done. There we fucking go. Let's go. Whew.
A quick note regarding my dad. This year, he will be 70. He has survived 2 broken femurs and almost 40 years of sobriety. And he still works out almost every single day.